don't talk about Overwatch a lot on Chaos Gaming. It's often seen as the main hero shooter in the world, and with all updates throughout the years, it's gotten deeper and deeper, but there's certain things you should never, ever do in Overwatch. Welcome to Chaos Gaming. I'm going to help some of you newer Overwatch players out if that's a thing right now. Drop a like, make sure you subscribe with those notifications, turn on, follow the page. These are some of the dumbest things you can do in Overwatch. Spam your ultimate. Spamming your ultimate. Ultimates are a massive part of Overwatch. It's all about doing damage, playing your role so you can charge your ultimate ability and just make a grand spectacle. However, a common mistake about how that ultimate is supposed to be used happens every day. Ultimates aren't just a free kill or a giant damage boost. They're tools, people, that you have to learn to use just like everything else in your character's arsenal. You should also be communicating with your teammates so you can combo ultimates together and capitalize even harder on openings. Now, Overwatch isn't Destiny. You don't just whip out your ultimate whenever it's charged. Be smart. Be smart about your ultimate and you'll get way more mileage. If we have any OG Overwatch players, give your thoughts. Give some advice in the comments on the best way for ultimate strategy. Next up is going double sniper. You never go double sniper. Now in the current 2-2-2-2 setup, well, 3 2s, not 4s, for Overwatch, each time has to have 2 DPS characters on the field at all times. Now, usually you want your 2 DPS characters to be filling different roles. Maybe a brawler and a flanker, maybe a sniper and a brawler. But a lot of lower level lobbies like to go double sniper, and it never ends well. Sure, you may be able to pick people off rather easily, but if you're going double sniper, that means you have next to 0 shield break. So once the other team realizes you have 2 snipers, which they will, they're just gonna bring out a shield tank and completely shut your DPS down. Never go double sniper. Next up, not joining team chat. You dirty non-team player. I know not everybody likes to talk in voice chat, and that's okay. But you know what's not okay? Not joining the team chat at all. Even if you don't want to talk to your teammates, you should at least listen. Listen to the callouts. That way you at least can be in sync with their plans and their pushes. Overwatch is a very team-based game, and one person out of sync with the rest can be what loses you the game. Even if you're not going to talk, you should at least be in the team chat and listen to what they're saying so you can at least follow along and get a vibe of what the team is doing. You want to know something else that is a dumb decision in Overwatch? Offensive Bastion. Now I know he's a cheesy character and it's fun to hunker down and spray away with him, but if you're playing Assault or Control on offense, don't pick him. In Escort and Hybrid modes, it can work perfectly fine on offense, but in Assault and Control, it's a bad pick and it really just makes you look desperate. Now Bastion has terrible mobility. In order for you to take full advantage of his firepower, you have to literally sit yourself down and give up movement while you're shooting. So in modes when you're constantly moving and trying to capture those objectives, it's a bad pick for DPS. If you have a solid lead and you want to lock in a win, maybe bring him out. I don't know. But it's best. It's best to leave him on the bench in favor of someone who has a little more mobility. Next dumbest decision is checking your phone between rounds. Raise your hand if you do this. You finish the first round, there's 30 seconds of intermission. You pick up your phone to check Twitter. Yep. You can't just stay focused for 30 seconds. You got to check Twitter. You never know when your team is going to be typing in the text chat or trying to get hold of you, or maybe you lose track of those 30 seconds and you end up being a few seconds behind your team on their opening push, or maybe you're on defense and you're 5 seconds late to the setup, which can often lead to being the deciding factor on who wins the first round of a fight. Check your phone while you're queued for the next match. Don't check your phone in between rounds. There's just way too many factors that could come in and bite you as a teammate. Now we've reached the 5th dumbest decision in Overwatch, not having a shield tank. Now the tank meta has changed many times, and it will change many more, and the density of the shields has definitely gone up and down. But one thing that has remained pretty consistent throughout the years, you need at least 1 shield on the field at all times. Yep, obviously you should always be trying to coordinate with your team, but in most situations, you want to have at least 1 shield tank on the field, preferably Reinhardt or Sigma. There are times when having 2 combat tanks can work out a little more, but for the most part, have some kind of defensive capabilities from the tank. Come on, heck, even a Zarya so you could use the bubble shield on people, something. Tanks are meant to take up space, soak up damage. That's the whole point of a tank. And if you don't have a shield on the field, that's a lot harder to do. Remember, this is definitely predicated and geared toward more newer Overwatch players. So yeah, if you're not new and you already knew all this, well, you can go check Twitter. Next up, not switching when your team needs it. Look, sometimes you have to swallow your pride and switch off your favorite character. With the way Overwatch is, certain characters simply aren't effective in certain scenarios. A lot of the game is about knowing your matchups and knowing which characters are good on which objectives on which maps. But then, You have the one tricks who play one, maybe two characters and often refuse to switch off, even if their team is getting absolutely throttled. If you're playing quick play or arcade, yeah, being a one trick isn't a big deal. But if you're playing ranked and you actually want to win, you are going to need to have some diversity in your character selection. You can't get butthurt when people ask you to switch. We don't always need a Hanzo. We don't always need a Genji. Overwatch gets a lot more fun if you know how to rotate multiple characters to benefit your team in that scenario and moment. Now, let's get a good one here. Going Junkrat against Zarya. Now, Junkrat is a popular DPS character thanks to his high damage output and pretty low barrier to entry, but if you're going up against a Zarya, this is bad. As you probably know, Zarya gets a ton of mileage out of soaking up damage and using it to charge her cannon. So if Junkrat is going up against Zarya, well, she just has to use her shield once or twice and boom, she's almost fully charged. Junkrat feeds Zarya like crazy, and it's a way better idea to just switch off Junk in that scenario like we talked about a minute ago. You may think you can outdamage a fully charged Zarya, but the problem is that you're feeding Zarya every fight. Don't do it. Have some more characters in your back pocket so you don't have to end up in this scenario. Next up, DPS Mora. Now, stop. Healing character, and she does have a lot of damage potential, but nothing is more frustrating than having a pure DPS on your team. For those new to Overwatch, DPS Mora basically means you have somebody on your team playing her but acting as a damage character instead of a healer. With the 2-2-2 system in place, having this DPS character means your team is going to be way behind on healing. Plus, she can output a ton of healing, so using her as a DPS character is kind of a waste. Now, it can feel pretty satisfying to do a crap ton of damage with a healing character. Yeah, you're the boss, but if you're going for wins, you need to be playing your role. That's a healer. Treat her like one. And finally, not keeping up with patches and info. Updates, people. Overwatch has changed a ton over the years, and it's probably never going to stop. Comparing Overwatch version 1.0 to modern Overwatch is a trip, but with a game that changes so much, you have to be on top of what's going on. Blizzard's pretty transparent about what changes they're making and what buffs and nerfs are currently being worked on. They even have an experimental playlist where you can try out potential patches before they go live for everybody. It's a really good thing. I know it can be a bit of a hassle. You don't want to keep up with the patches in a game like Overwatch, but you're going to find yourself behind the learning curve. You never know when your favorite character is going to be nerfed into the ground. After all, it was just a few months ago that Orisa was completely pulled out of the meta with a series of nerfs. And it was just a week ago, of the making of this video, that Zenyatta got a rather crushing nerf as well. Keep up to date with the changes being made, so that way, you'll be ready for anything that Blizzard throws at you. And there you have it. Those are some of the dumbest decisions a newer player can make. Most of your veteran players probably won't, but hopefully this helped you out. If it did, drop a like, and I'll see you soon.